Hey guys, it's Kiri here. I just wanted to talk to you today about planting a fall garden. It might seem a little bit strange because it's like, well, at least for me, the heat of summer. But now is when you need to start thinking about what you want to harvest in the fall. So, one of the most important things that you need to know, other than what you're going to plant, is how much time you have left until your frost date is the most important thing for a fall garden. So it's easy to find out if you don't know. Mine's around somewhere around October 9th, I think. I'll have to double check it for this year. But you can look it up online. Just Google what is my frost date and then put in where you live. And then you'll have a date, which is great. After you have that, we need to turn it into days. So essentially what you want to know is how many days do I have left to grow? And then that's going to determine what things you can plant because you're going to want them to have the opportunity to get to maturity. And ideally, you're going to want them to have a bit of a gap before your frost date because it's art, not science. They might say it's October, for me, October 9th, but the first frost happens on the 1st. Or it might not happen until the 20th. So you want to make sure you've got buffer in and you're not kind of putting all your eggs in one basket and counting completely on that date and then the frost happens early and you lose everything. We don't want that to happen. So once you know what your first frost date is, you can get a calendar out and count the days you have left, or you can go and ask Siri or Google or Alexa or whatever you have and just say how many days are there until, and then whatever your frost date is, and that will give you your number. So once you have that, then we have to look at what you're going to actually grow. There are certain things that are going to be more suited to a fall garden than to spring when you're planting in the spring. Generally, your things like carrots are going to be good, peas, beans, some of the summer squash, ironically. Kale's always good. And we'll go look through some of the things that I'm going to grow. But you're really going to want to look for things that grow quickly. So a lot of times they're called early. A typical example is early girl for tomatoes, but don't go planting tomatoes because they really are better off planted in the spring, but something like that. So it's something that's going to reach maturity rather quickly. Or the other thing you can plant are things that are frost hardy. So things like kales that can go part of the way through the winter, at least where I am in zone 5B. But if you're somewhere milder, it can probably keep going the entire time. So once you've got that date for how many days you have left, you need to know how long it takes for your varieties to get to maturity. A lot of seed packages will tell you. If they don't, you can Google it, get an idea, and take notes. One of the things that I've done loosely this year, but I'm really going to buckle down on for next year, is having a garden journal. So I'm going to note like for so many things, but one thing specifically is for when I planted or when they germinated, if they were transplanted outside, and then when they reached maturity. So that's a good thing. Then if you like those varieties, you'll have a better idea yourself because everything's going to grow a little differently depending what zone you're in. So you kind of have to figure out your garden. Use that as your frame of reference rather than just necessarily what they say online. But that's going to take experimenting. So if this is your first time growing, or if you haven't kind of made those notes this year, plan to do that for next year and then go by the averages that they give you online for whatever variety you're growing. And if you can't find the days to maturity for that specific variety, then go up. Like if it's a specific type of carrot that you're growing and you can't find the days to maturity, just take an average over all carrots. Like I said, it's art, not science, so it's not going to be the end of the world. So we can take a look at some of the things that I'm going to be growing. I kind of have them set aside from my giant seed stash because I definitely have a lot of seeds. I'll probably, as I move forward, have less seeds in the packages and more seeds. Well, right now I have these little containers, but I'm going to figure out a better system. But these are seeds that I've saved because one of the main things I want to do is stop buying seeds. I'm probably always going to buy some if there's a new variety or something I haven't tried, or maybe I forgot to save seeds that year. But generally, I want to become more self-sufficient, and saving seeds is a great way to do it. Plus, you save yourself a bit of money, or a lot of money in my case, because I order a lot of seeds. Let's take a look at some of the seeds that I'm going to be growing in my fall garden. And one of these packages is losing seeds. All right, I'll have to figure that out. So these two that I have are two that I saved from last season. It's some radish and some watermelon radish. I kind of always grew radishes just because, but I didn't love them. Just about a month ago, I tried them roasted, and it for me was a game changer. Like I'm like, I need to go plant a lot of radishes because they are absolutely amazing when they're roasted. So these guys are definitely going in. So one thing I'm gonna grow, I haven't tried this one before. It was actually a free seed, but it's the Nero de Toscana. I think I said that right. Kale or cabbage, but they call it dinosaur kale. And this one can just keep growing and growing. I've seen images of it with this giant stalk and then just these leaves at the top, almost looking like a palm tree. So I'm going to give that one a try and then see how long this can go into the winter. Hopefully I'll be using that in some stews and soups and stuff that I'm cooking over the winter. So we're going to try that one. I also have in here, talking about kale, some scarlet kale, which is just, I like growing things that have color. I always feel it's got, better nutrients and everything in it. So we're going to try this curled red purple kale. So apparently it produces lots of delicious frilly leaves that deepen in purple color as temperature drops. And it's very cold tolerant, so hopefully that'll be good. So that's it for kale. Next I have beets. So I have some golden beets, and I had some other ones. Oh, these ones. It's Shigogia beets. I love them. They're so pretty. So I'm going to grow both of those. I'm not a huge beet fan. I do like them just raw in salads, but my father loves them, so I'll do him some pickled beets. And I'll probably put up a recipe on the blog. Next, cabbage. I'm doing this one because specifically I want to make some kimchi. Fermented foods are great. They're amazing for your stomach and your gut health. So I'm going to start doing more fermenting. I just last night made some fermented sauerkraut. Well, I started it. It's in the cupboard, so about 7 days from now I'll have some sauerkraut, which will be good. Next, some lettuce. Lettuce is always good. I'm going to do this romaine lettuce. So another free seed. I love that Baker Creek does that. So I'll be trying some of those. I'll have some sugar snap peas, which are my favorite. I had a lot of different peas, and I guess just in general I'm realizing I get carried away. You see a new variety, you want to try planting it, but if it's not something you eat, and you're just wasting space in your garden. So for me, sugar snap peas are my absolute favorite, so those are going to be going in for a second round. That said, if you do get a new variety, especially if you're in a seed exchange like I am, it's great to get a few seeds of something to try. Or, again, if you're ordering from Baker Creek, they do give you the free seeds. So one that I'm going to try that I don't know if I like is the mustard, the Japanese giant red. It was another one of those free ones, so I'll at least give it a try. If I don't like it after that, I'll just use it for exchanging for other seeds that I know I like. And then, oh, one last one here, another bean, the bush bean. I grew pole beans for the first time, again, without the proper vertical space. It was a bit of a disaster out there. But bush beans are my go-to, and I love these ones, the Blue Lake. And then we have, the carrots. I love carrots. I just grew a huge amount, and these are perfect for the cooler weather. Carrots. I love growing carrots. They definitely do better with the cooler temperatures, so they're perfect for a fall garden. These are all new varieties that I just ordered. I already planted them, so I don't have the seeds. I got a little jump on, got a little excited. But things that are the squash, that are early squash, like these guys, which I love, the white scallop squash, they were very prolific. I ended up with 8 off of a single plant. Or the always prolific zucchini. That's a great one that you can plant because as it's a summer squash, it's going to be ready to pick quite quickly. So I had got from my seed exchange some, I'm not going to remember the name exactly, but the Costata and the Cocosale, so they were more like Italian heirlooms. One of them's ridged and one of them's striped, I believe. So those went in about a week or 2 ago, so they've already started. So those will be great for the fall garden as well. Oh, and I put in a patty pan squash, a yellow patty pan. So yeah, so I think what we'll do now is maybe we will go out to the garden, and actually I can give you kind of a look of how it's looking. Some stuff, there's a lot more open space because things have been pulled out. My seating square is already outside, so we will definitely be using that. And we will get some of these into the garden, so my fall garden will actually be ready. I packed up everything I need in here, just so I can keep it somewhat organized. Let's get my boots. Oh, Bacon's coming too. There's Bacon. Say hi, Bacon. My fancy winter boots. They were my son's. I have here, actually, I started pulling some of my squash. So I have some spaghetti squash there, and I have all my garlic that still needs to be braided. I was just waiting for it to dry out, but it looks like it's just about ready. So let's go take a look. Tomatoes, I am so excited. These Brad's Atomic Grape are doing great this year. I had like one last year, so I'm pretty excited to have a bunch of those. So here's the garden. It's a little bit unruly, some of it. The onions, I've just folded those over there, so they'll be ready to come out soon. Just waiting for the bulbs to thicken up a bit. Again, squash everywhere. Here's an acorn squash. There's one on there. Down there, I think that's when I was did another video about self-pollination. That was one of the ones I was showing in that video. There is the disaster of pole beans. Obviously, 2 poles is not sufficient. I had some fancy system with twine in there, but they destroyed it. So, oh, and there's something I've been fighting with all season. I'm sure a lot of other people have too. The horrible Japanese beetles. I'll have to get those with some soapy water in a minute. But let's take a look. I've already planted some beans in here, second round of beans that I had put in to help add some nitrogen back into the soil. That was all of my lettuce was in there, and obviously something's been eating them a little bit, so I will have to deal with that. That's one thing I forgot to mention inside. Brassicas are another amazing thing to get out in the fall. They're going to thrive in the cooler weather. And so, but before I plant them again, I need to do a little bit more research. So I might leave a little bit of space to throw a couple in, but we're not going to do that straight away. So here is one of the zucchinis that I just planted that I got in my seed exchange. This is the Coccozelli. And if we go over here, on the other side, this one is the costata. This one's definitely bigger, so hopefully we'll get a lot off of those. And where are you going, Bacon? Bye. This is my first time doing determinate tomatoes. I pretty much always do indeterminate, but where is it? Oh, this one here. This guy is massive. This is the mushroom basket. It's just gorgeous. I'm assuming this was from a fasciated blossom, but I don't really care because it's amazing looking. I think there's a couple like that, but there's some more over there, I think. We can see right in there, but yeah, so I can't wait to make some tomato sauce with these guys. That will be awesome. So this is where all the carrots were. And then, again, this was the space for the brassicas that went awry. And then over here, we got a little bit of space. If I clean it up a bit, I might take out, this was the white scallop squash. It definitely has some flowers on it. I'll take a look, see if I can see any of the fruit. Oh, there's one right there talking about fruit. So I guess I'm not going to take it out. We'll leave that. We'll just see if we can clean up a little bit of space. I can squeeze a couple of things in there. And of course, my trusty seeding square. I use this thing all the time. If it broke tomorrow, I would go and buy another one without hesitation. I do all of my planting in my raised beds as square foot gardening. So this guy just makes everything a lot easier. You can definitely go and make one yourself. I've seen them made out of wood on Pinterest. I was planning to do that, then I came across this guy, and I've had it for about 2 seasons now, and I love it. So we'll use that in a minute. It's about ready to actually start planting. I did take a little break, run inside, because I just talked to you guys about the importance of having a garden journal, and I didn't have mine with me. So I ran inside and got it so I can actually make a note of what I've planted, what time I planted it, so I'll know when they're ready for harvest. So I have that now, so I think we're good. Oh, yeah. And I actually went and ripped out my zucchini because I realized that I needed more space. One of the things that's important to know when you're square foot gardening is how much space each plant is going to take per square foot. So because I'm doing beets, which are 9 a square foot, carrots are 16, radishes are 16, lettuce is 4, what else? Kale is 1. The kohlrabi is going to be 4. For the Chinese cabbage, they said I could put 9 in per square foot because I haven't grown that one before, so I went to look it up. But I'm not really trusting that, so I'm going to try and grow it like a lettuce and do 4. And what else do I have in there? Beets are 9, and the bush beans are 9 as well. The peas I'm going to hold off on because I need to go get some better support, so I will put them in a little bit later. So, that said, let's get going. Okay, so I have the kohlrabi that I went in to grab. I have my garden journal. Well, it's my bullet journal, but I'm going to use it as a garden journal. And my seeds that I set up inside. So, I think what we'll do is I will grab the seeding square, and then you guys can see how to use it. It's not hard, but I'll show you anyways. So I'll move this out of the way for a second. Got some grass growing in, so we'll take that out. And all right, let's get the seeding square. All right, so all you want to do is, I have a guide already, because I mean typically I would start in the spring of the corner and then work my way down so I can see where I am. But pretty much you just want to set it in where you've got your space. I don't want to get too close to the zucchini. This is going to take over relatively quickly. So I'm actually probably going to plant something here that's going to be very quick growing. So I'll probably throw some radishes in here. Just so they can have a chance before that zucchini gets too big. So, and actually the ground's a little bit not level there, so let me just flatten that out a bit so I have a flat surface. And then we'll get this in here like this. Actually, I might even move it up a bit because of the zucchini. Give it a press. And because I'm doing radishes, it comes with this great little poker, which gives you the seed depth on it. Radishes we're not going to plant too deep, so all I'm going to do is the different colors represent how many you're doing. So the reds are for 16, the yellows are for 9s, the blues are for 4, and then you just use the central one if it's only a single one per square foot. So we will go ahead and use the red ones because it's the radishes. We're going to do 16 per square foot. So I'll just give a quick poke in all the holes, so I have my guide and I know where things go. It just makes it super quick and organized, and honestly this is the most organized my garden has ever been. So move that out of the way, and then you can see all the little holes there all marked out, and then we'll just go and put the seeds in. So we'll just go, whoops, struggling here. And because I'm running out of these, I may end up actually letting some of these go to seed. You really only need to let one go to seed. The radishes produce a lot of flowers, so you can get an awful lot of seeds off of a single plant. So that's all of them planted. So just cover it up. And then when I'm done everything, I'll just give everything a quick water. So that's the radishes done. Well, at least the regular radishes. Okay, next spot. Let's grab this. I think we'll go over here where the onions are. Get these guys out of the way. Okay, so now I'm going to plant this whole area. So I think we'll put some kohlrabi over here. So we'll do that at 4. So I'll use the blue ones this time. Try that. And get some kohlrabi in here. I like how exact you can be with the seeding square, and it may seem crazy, but this whole patch of carrots that I did here, well, for in the spring, I actually seeded individual carrot seeds. And was it a pain in the ass? Absolutely. But I had pretty good distribution. I mean, that's one thing with the seeding square. You do have to be exact. I mean, you could thin it, I guess, but I just took a bit more time, and I was able to get them all in. The dinosaur kale on this side, I'll do the scarlet kale on that side, and then we'll do beets in between. Pick out my seed, one in there for some dinosaur kale. That kale I'll do over there. Okay, so I'll do the beets here. Beets are going to be done at 9, so we'll use the yellow circles to space these out properly. Right. So I'll put the Chigoja beets in. I'm probably saying that horribly wrong. Now the interesting thing about beet seeds is each of these things, it looks like a seed, which you probably can't see because it's really tiny. They're actually a cluster of seeds. So that's why you'll see a lot of the time you'll end up with more than one beet, even when you're very careful to only put in one of these things that look like seeds. So you can just come in and thin them afterwards. I typically do the direct sowing. I think next year I'm going to try doing a bit more of a comparison. Do some where I start them inside and then bring them out for transplanting, and then do some that are direct sown and just see which works better. So that's it for the beets there. And that's what I was trying to show over there. So this looks like a seed, but it's actually a cluster of seeds. So you may have to thin beets. So this is where a lot of the acorn squash was. I actually ended up finding some taro root that I forgot that I planted because it got buried. Also found one little teeny tiny watermelon. I also have a honeyboat delicate over there and another spaghetti squash. So in here we have pretty much carrots. I did a few beans and some mustard greens I tried there. So that's it. So I guess kind of check back, see how this is doing maybe in a week. Okay, so it's crazy bright out here, but now what I need to do is I need to go inside, take in my acorn squash, and I need to actually sit down and write everything into my garden journal. So we will go inside and I'll show you what I'm gonna put in there so that I know when everything's ready. Okay. Okay, so I got sidetracked and started organizing all my seeds. So I still have to finish with that. But the one thing I wanted to go over was the garden journal that I mentioned. So what I've done is I went in and I put down the date that they were planted on, when my first frost date is, which I calculated out. Well, I didn't calculate. The internet told me that it was going to be approximately October 10th. The date, then I figured out the days until the last frost, which is 70 days. And I mentioned earlier that you could figure it out on the calendar by counting it all out, or you can use Siri and say things. Let's see if she works. Hey Siri, how many days until October 10th?
It's 69 days until then.
Awesome. I wrote down 70 because I actually did this yesterday and it's now the next day. I got sidetracked, so I didn't get it all done. So technically from yesterday there was 70 days until the frost, and then what I did was I went down and I put in all the things that I planted. So all the different types of carrots, the kale, the beets, kohlrabi beans, the mustard greens, the Chinese carrot, cabbage, and the Paris Island Coes. I then went online and figured out how many days to maturity for each of these things, and I wrote them all down. Then what I need to do is I need to use the days until maturity and kind of do the reverse of what I did to find out how many days until the frost, and then figure out what the date is. So all I did was same sort of thing. Hey Siri, what's 75 days from August 1st?
It's Friday, October 15th, 2021.
Awesome. So that's what I went and wrote down over here. And then I just went and did that for everything. So, oh, I actually missed one, so we'll do that. Hey Siri, what's 50 days from August 1st?
It's Monday, September 20th, 2021.
So we'll go September 20. And it is 50 to 80 days for this, but that's kind of my baseline, the earliest they'll be ready. And for any of these ones that had a variation in how many days they were ready until, I went with the shorter number. Especially with the carrots, if I harvest them early, it's not terribly early if I go on the first date, and then you just have smaller carrots, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so that's pretty much what I did there. Hopefully you guys find that helpful, and if you want, you can subscribe and click on the notification button, and then you'll know whenever I post any new videos. And also check out my blog at www.ourlittlesuburbanfarmhouse.com.